Okay, so here is my Unreal tournament level that I ended up making as a project. This was using a few of the basic concepts and focusing more on the level design aspect, along with trying to get a few blueprints in there to help engage some more of the level and add some mechanics that hopefully add to what we have here. So overall, I went for a more square design, and it ends up funneling into a water section that we ended up going with a water volume, so you could actually go underneath as well, and that is also part of the play area, along with two opposing buildings on either side with sniper posts where we positioned rocket launchers, and then we have a contested middle area here where it has multiple levels of verticality and multiple different levels of power depending on when and how you get up there, along with having some versions of health depending on where you go for different versions of parkour for exploration, pickups, and different weapons depending on the different areas. Because the main reason I put different areas such as this little outcropping of walls was for people who like to go into a more close combat area, and they have the flagger in the middle, so they actually get a very good play area for that. We have a grenade launcher over here in this hill mound area, and this was to help promote breaking line of sight with the hill, but also allowing for the grenade launcher to have some lobbing through the terrain as we have our buildings in the middle here. Then the rocket launchers, they end up working well through the lines of sight, but you can also use them in other places. And then we end up going below to the second part of this level for extra areas that we wanted to play around with, and this was the main focus. So I made a giant battle arena underneath the initial battle arena, and this was to promote all of the heavier duty weapons and all of the better loot to be below in a more high risk, high reward area. So you would come down here, grab the weapon that you wanted, or attempt to, get some loot, and then funnel your way back up into the upper area and hide and try to disperse around to the edges of the map. And once you ran out of ammo as you're traversing, you would slowly start to cycle your way back down to get more ammo and be able to find a niche area where you found your playstyle. Now, some of the things that we added into the game as mechanics-wise were the ability to turn lights on and off when you got into proximity of certain areas, and also a trap that raises in this bottom area. And if you are in here, depending on if you are skilled and fast enough, you can potentially get out of here without being killed. But it is also a risk versus reward, so there's a high chance of being killed, and that's what these buttons are for. So first, we'll take a little tour on the ground level and see a few of the implementations in action, and then we'll get into the actual stuff. So I added in a few waterfalls and stuff to help add some ambiance to the area along with some plants in there. And as we see, when we enter and exit buildings, the lights turn on and off. Here's one of our weapons. We have two ramps with little trails of stuff, and then we have some fast action points where you can go from the bottom level to the top area fairly quickly. Then you can also go to the top area from the middle, so you're high up, but you're fairly exposed. So it's something you've got to depend on. Hey, do I want to get either the really good weapon or power-up up here? Or do I want to try to skirt around the edges and try to make my way for some of the other stuff? Also, the other portion to down here, and this is the other part of the blueprints that we did. First off, we have our wall runs that we did, so we have fast action across the map, and it is possible to jump from place to place to be able to get around. But also, when this is shot, we have our trap up here for a number of 7 seconds, and this deals damage over time to the characters, and it will reset over time. Now, this was something that I wanted to add a little bit more of the risk versus reward. We tried to break up our lines of sight by adding in some terrain, but you still have to move around to be able to look around it, and there's always a place to move and find something new and different. So that's the main level, and now I'm going to get into the blueprints and also some of the other things that I made that were not generic assets in Unreal Tournament. So first, for our blueprints, going over, here's our basic light. So what we ended up doing was making a trigger box with an array that basically says, hey, store all of our lights here, and we're going to take that array component and toggle its visibility for turning on and off of the lights. And as we can see here, when we go into and out of the trigger box through our gate for our condition, it will toggle and run that special custom action that we made for that. Then our secondary thing for our trap, what we have here, I took a dispatcher for call button press, and if we go back to our level, we'll see I have two separate things for each button, because there are two buttons. They're separated to button 1 and button 2, and they call our dispatcher, and will run triggering our water volume and pain causing to turn on, along with adding in our sound effects for when you are drowning in the water and not. Also, we have our post-processing, enabling it so that we get the underwater atmosphere to it, along with our blueprint for toggling our visibility for our static mesh component to make it look like it is, and then we have our 6-second delay here, and then it goes and proceeds to toggle everything back to the way it originally was. Now, the few things that I did change that were slightly different were the emitters, because they didn't have enough volume to them, so I actually had far more of these in the initial aspect, and I wanted to try to lessen it so that there was less of an LOD conflict and there was less stuff being processed at any given time. So I made two separate emitters, one for this cascading effect at the beginning, and then also the main drizzle effect in the back. And you can see that we replicated it on both sides to try to give a sense of this is a plateaued area within this larger cave area that we have set up. So that was the main reason for doing that. I tried to add in some cityscape to help mold the area so that there was more of a cyclical cycle to go through on the map, and it helped guide the player slightly more. But I still tried to make some things fun and enjoyable, so I tried to make it so that there's a little bit of adventure. You could get up on top of this, and you get a nice little health up reward for being able to do so. Overall, this was taking in place testing. I ended up changing around a few of the items, changing their times for when they would activate and when they would deactivate, and also adding in a few extra goodies around the map to help trail you around. Otherwise, this has been my Unreal Tournament level project and how I was testing some of the effects that I want to do. I'm definitely going to keep going with this level and trying to add in a few more functionality things, but overall, this is a good general idea start for what our level is looking like.